Hey everyone, I am Celsia. I belong to Physical Science Department. So today we are going to discuss about cryogenic techniques and manned space. So the word cryogen originates from the Greek word cryo means frost or cooled. Genic means to produce or forming. So by the combination of two words, cryogenic means the production of very low temperature. So through cryogenic we produce a low temperature. Meaning, cryogenic is the study of production of very low temperature below 123 Kelvin and the behavior of material at those temperatures. So, in cryogenics, we study the very low temperature. The temperature should be below 123 Kelvin. So, the United States, Russia, Japan, India, France and China, these are the countries they use cryogenic rocket fuels in their country. There are three types of cryogenic liquid. What are they means? Inert gases, flammable gases, oxygen. Here we discuss briefly. Inert gases do not react chemically to any great extent. They do not burn or support combustion. Example of these groups are inert gases of these groups are nitrogen, helium, neon, argon and krypton. Then flammable gas means here it give burn. So some cryogenic liquids are produce a gas that can burn in air. The most common examples are hydrogen, methane, carbon monoxide, liquefied natural gas. So it means by LNG. Then oxygen. Many materials considered as non-combustible can burn in the presence of liquid oxygen. So oxygen is burned only in the presence of oxygen. Organic material can react explosively with liquid oxygen. The hazards and handling precaution of liquid oxygen must there be considered separately from other cryogenic liquids. So these are the three types. So if we take methane under 111.7 Kelvin, it became a cryogenic liquid. For oxygen 90.2 Kelvin, it became a cryogenic liquid. So under these temperatures, the element changed in the cryogenic liquid. So how it operates? Majorly it operates two techniques. One is inert and another is flammable. Both types explore the large liquid to gas volume ratio that occurs when liquid transmission to gaseous phase. The feasibility of cryogenic fuels is associated with what is known as a high mass flow rate. With regulation, the high density energies of cryogenic fuels is utilized to produce thrust in rockets and controllable combustion of fuels. Then what is meant by inert? Inert means it does not react, isn't it? These types of fuel type typically use the regulation of gas production and flow to power piston in an engine. The large increase in pressure are controlled and the direction towards the engine piston. The piston moves due to the mechanical power transfer from the monitored production of gaseous fuel. A notable example can be seen in a Peter Demon's liquids air vehicle. Some common inert fuels include liquid nitrogen, liquid air, liquid helium and liquid neon. Then flammable. These fuels utilize the beneficial liquid cryogenic properties along with the flammable nature of the substance as well as the source of power. These types of fuels are known as primarily for using rockets. So flammable is mostly used in the rockets. For example of flammable they are liquid hydrogen, LNG, liquid methane. So how we store the cryogenic liquid? Container shall be handled and stored in an upright position. It should be in an upright position. Okay. Then small quantities of liquid nitrogen can be stored in Devers block. The quantity of liquid hydrogen must be stored in the Devers block. Devers bottle or a hollow walled gas lined container. So what is meant by Devers bottles? It is a hollow walled glass lined container which provide excellent insulation. Then store and use with adequate ventilation. Do not store in a confined space. Then what are the application of cryogenic techniques? They are rocket, MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, power transmission, food freezing, vaccines. So what is the application of rocket? through cryogenic, the most of the rocket fuels are used. So the importance of cryogenic is a cryogenic fuel. Cryogenic fuel, mainly what we used, liquid nitrogen, is used as a rocket fuel. So apart to propellant, liquid and solid propellant, we use liquid propellant is mostly, it is a beneficial one. Then MRI. What is meant by MRI? Magnetic resonance imaging. Okay, it is used to scan the inner organs of the human body by penetrating very intense magnetic field. The magnetic field is generated by a superconducting coil with the help of liquid helium. It can reduce the temperature of the coil to around 4K. What is meant by 4K? 4 Kelvin. At this low temperature, very high resolution image can be obtained. Then power transmission. Through underground cables, we use cryogenic liquids used in a power transmission. Getting heated and resistance is increased. This can be solved by cryogenics. Liquid fied gases are sprayed on the cables to keep them cool and reduce their resistance. Then food freezing. So for food freezing, we use a cryogenic liquid. Cryogenic gases are used in transport of large mass of food frozen with a huge quantity of food is transported. Then through in medical line, we use vaccine to preserve vaccine. The freezing of biotechnology products like vaccine require nitrogen freezing system. Then what are the beneficiaries of these cryogenic liquids? Cryogenic fuels are environmentally cleaner than gasoline or fossil fuel. Among other things, the green gas rate could potentially by reducing 11 to 20% using LNG as opposite to gasoline when transporting goods. Along with their eco-friendly nature, they have the potential to significantly decrease transportation costs of island products because of their abundance compared to that of fossil fuels. Cryogenic fuels have higher mass flow rate than the fossil fuel, and therefore product thrust and power when compressed for use in an engine. This means that engine will run further on less fuel over than modern gas engine. Cryogen fuels are not pollutant, and that if spilled or no risk to the environment, there will be need to clean up hazard waste after spill. Oh, so what we discussed here, the beneficiaries means it is eco-friendly and it is a environment cleaner. So we can it is a non-pollutant. Because we use more fuels in our daily life, they are pollutant. But this cryogenic liquid is a non-pollutant to our environment. So what is the drawback? There are some drawbacks. Some cryogenic fuels like LNG are naturally combustible. Ignition of fossil spills could result in a large explosion. This is possible in case of car crash with an engine. Sometimes it may be combustible, so it gives a large explosion. Then cryogenic storage technique must be to withstand a higher pressure. It can be only withstand in a higher pressure. Higher pressure propellant tanks require thinner walls and stronger alloys, which make the vehicle tanks heavier, thereby reducing the performance. Despite non-toxic tendency, cryogenic fuels are denser than air. As such, they can lead to asphyxiation. If leaked, the liquid will boil into very dense cold gas, and if inhaled could be fatal. So these are some drawbacks of the cryogenic liquid. Then manned space. Here we discuss about the manned space. What is meant by manned space? Human space flight, also referred to as a manned spaced flight or crewed space flight, is a space flight with a crew or passenger aboard a spacecraft, often with the spacecraft being operated directly by the on-board human crew. So what is meant by manned space means they send a man with the space flights. It is meant by manned space. On 16 July 96, the United States launched the Apollo 11 manned spacecraft to put a man on the moon for the first time with 3 astronauts on the border. After their 75 hours and 15 minutes of flight, they enter the orbit around the moon. So now we discuss about what is the difference between manned and unmanned space. A manned space means go to the space with man. Unmanned space means there is a no man, only the material things only go. Manned aircraft can be used in the constrained environment where command and control is limited, autonomy is required, or policy or restriction exists. And unmanned aircraft has no air crews to limit its range and endure or the has the risk of loss of life or the fear of being captured. So unmanned space is the less risk, isn't it? So here some of the advantages of unmanned space. It is cheaper, it can overcome any harsh atmospheric condition. It's less dangerous according to manned space. Here there is no need to carry human provisions such as food, oxygen, water. It is very useful to collect information from space such as temperature, water, magnetic field, radiation. These are the advantages. So what is the limitation of manned space? Resources such as we need air, water and food are needed for the astronaut to survive. If the unmanned probe is destroyed, then the space organization has lost money from equipment and equipment. But if a manned spacecraft is destroyed, then human lives can be lost. If we entered with a man, if they unfortunately they land too late or some crashes, they say they destroy their life, isn't it? It is a time and money consuming also. So I conclude that cryogenic cooling can not only offer advantages in terms of wear and tear, productivity and finish, but it is also a neutral and environmental friendly method that translate into other advantages. So here today we are discussing about the cryogenic liquids. What is meant by cryogenic liquids? It's a production of very low temperature, isn't it? So then we discuss the three types: inert, flammable and oxygen. These are the types of cryogenic fluids. Then we discuss the application. What are the application? Rocket, MRI, power transmission, freezing, vaccine. So these are the some application. Next we discuss the limitation and advantages of cryogenic liquids. After that we see manned space. Manned space means they send a man with the spacecraft. So what is unmanned space? There is a no man. If we send a manned space, we need lot of things to carry. If we send the spacecraft without the crew members, it is a easy to land. So finally we discussed cryogenic techniques and manned space. So these are my reference. Thank you.